Kyle Kuzma has formally requested a trade out of DC. Which three teams make the most sense for the Washington Wizards? And I even threw an extra run in there. This is the last show of 2024. Come on, let's get it. Next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Brandon Scott again. Your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Wizards Daily Newsletter, one-stop shop for the ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign for free at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Wizards newsletter. Kyle Kuzma, you're not misinformed. It is true. Kyle Kuzma has formally asked for a trade out of DC. So, to me, which three teams make the most sense? And I even threw a wild card in there, and it's a familiar team. So we're gonna get into that. But first, before we get into the trade proposals, AB, and first of all, how you doing tonight, man?
My bad, B. It's New Year. Safe to say Kyle Kuzma's New Year resolution is to be on a different team. I think he waited to December 31st. But, man, going to 2025, it's insane, bro. The Wizards, I mean, right now it's slow, but you just got to be patient. You got to trust the process. If we can do it with the Commanders, we can do it with the Wizards, man.
Absolutely, man. So it looks like you're already in spirits tonight, man. So I can dig it. All right, so let's get into it, man. So Kyle Kuzma requested out. What's his legacy here in DC? Coming over in the trade for Russell Westbrook, sending Russ out west to LA, his hometown. We got Trez Harrell, KCP, and Kyle Kuzma. So once he comes back with another uniform on, I mean, when you look back with his time here in the nation's cap, what is his legacy to you? Was it a good one, bad one, or why?
At first, I mean, you could say it was good, but then it's just like as days went on of this whole like dilemma of him not wanting to be here, it's just gotten uglier. So I could see the case for people maybe not go crazy and cheer him, but like still be fans of Kyle Kuzma. But there would definitely be the bigger crowd that are very anti and probably booing when he comes back here in DC.
Yeah, that's just a good question. What his legacy is, man, and it's different when you really talk about legacy, right? Because while he wasn't no one scoring option, he wasn't like the franchise guy like Bradley Beal, John Wall, Gilbert Arenas, players that stature that were obviously the franchise player here in DC. But he's a guy who came in and he performed. So when I look at legacy, he's a guy who he performed when he was called upon. He played good basketball here. We know what his faults are as far as a player. Every player has faults. If you're not, you're one of those elite players that don't have faults, man. Those MJs, those Kobe's, those LeBrons. But, he's a guy who are inefficient at times. Yes, at times with his size, with his athletic ability, very reliant on the jump shot. And a guy who athleticism, kind of 50-50, not a guy who's really going to jump out of the gym, but a guy who, again, is a consistent scorer, 20 points a night, a guy who went from kind of, a young player, kind of immature player, going back and forth, Lonzo Ball in LA, and, really grew into a leader here in DC. So not only that, the work he did off the court, definitely getting back to the community, not only DC, coming with Virginia, state of Maryland, and his home state of Michigan, and his hometown of Flint, Michigan. So I'm a guy who gave off the court. So he, like I say, he did his job. But obviously there's not the consistency amongst everybody. Obviously you look at this previous offseason going back and forth with fans about political stuff. And like I said, I don't get into the old shut up and dribble. You use a platform for whatever you want until it's a bad reason. But kind of going back and forth with fans, not best look. The fashion thing, which again I don't care. Wear what you want, man. I mean, but and obviously this previous week, going in on X and his mom going out there with a post, stuff like that. Now, would you argue those things are on the same level as other issues we've had with players here in the district? Gilbert Arenas with the guns, John Wall with the issues with the gang signs, Bradley Beal, with him, Bill, and kind of, when you're down by 30, talking to your homeboys on the other team. No, you can argue that, he wasn't a guy who got in trouble. You didn't have any off the court stuff. And you really didn't have bad body language or any kind of ill will towards the fan base till lately. And so, I mean, I think his legacy, like you said, he's not that premier guy. And I mean, no disrespect, but he's not. He's not the franchise player like you in the sense of John Wall or Bradley Beal or Gilbert Arenas. So legacy is kind of like the same thing as KP, in my opinion. Like, you probably give him a video and you probably cheer for him, but like I said, when I think of legacy, it's just not on the same level as Bradley Beal, because what his legacy is, he totally flopped as a franchise player. And John Wall, obviously, him and Gilbert Arenas for the injuries. So I mean, so do you clap, AB? If you're at that game, or do you clap?
Man, for me, I'm a positive guy, so I always try to cheer on everybody. It's hard to root against people because out there just Kuzma, 20 points a game, like he's done that in his career, and it just sucks because one of those straws you talked about it was the whole Pistons losing streak thing. That was like I don't want to say it's the final straw for me. That was just like dude, like you're just making yourself look bad at this point.
Don't be that team till you are. And here's the thing: when you talk junk, they gotta back it up, man. It's not a good look when you are that team. But I don't sweat none of that. I think it's funny. Obviously, it's kind of a joke around the association. But like I said, it's tough when you say legacy, man, because he's not that premier player. It's different than saying what will be the legacy of Zion Williamson. He's that guy that you were hoping to be that franchise guy. So his legacy is not going to be a good one if they indeed move on from him. So like I said, he came in and he did his job, whether it's a role guy with Brad Bill, KP, whether it's being the number one option, which argued this year was not his best year. So before we get into the trade proposals, man, we talked about it before, the asking price. Right now he is available. And with him formally requesting a trade out of DC, they got to make a move. So do you see a scenario? Because I got a few scenarios where I think we can still get a first-round pick. Now, 2 first-round picks ain't going to happen, AB. But in the worst-case scenario, you're probably going to have second-round picks. But do you still see a chance we can get first-round picks realistically going towards the trade deadline?
No more second-round picks, please. That's all I ask for. I could see if a team desperately want to make that last playoff push and they think a guy like Kyle Kuzma will plug in 20 points per game, I could see that a first. But obviously, that's 2 first-round picks. That's been out the window.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I mean, honestly, I hate to be like this, man, but I never really thought that. I never thought it was an option. I know within the perspective of general manager Will Dawkins, you always aim high. You're negotiating, so you always aim high, and I get that. So there's no knock against Dawkins, because you guys know I'm big on this front office. I think they've done a good job. Now, I will argue, and I've said this before, this is going to be the one real time when you're like, okay, we should have did better with Kyle Kuzma as far as moving him at the zenith of his trade value. And I believe that was in the offseason. The Dallas Mavericks deal, I get it, because Grant Williams is not a contract that I'm willing to take on. But, the offseason, 13th overall pick was right there, Sacramento. So we already talked about Michigan, hometown Michigan. He is from Flint, Michigan. And the Detroit Pistons could be an option, AB. So let's go ahead and pull out a trade proposal real quick with the Detroit Pistons, formally sending Kyle Kuzma home to Detroit. All right, so pulling up the trade, the most realistic trade I was able to pull up, AB, with any move with the Pistons, because again, you have to match salary. So realistically, with Detroit, you're looking at Tim Hardaway Jr., who is making $16.1 million, but is an expiring contract. Malik Beasley, he's making $6 million in his expiring contract. And so I think that before we even get into the picks, man, I mean, 2 expiring contracts, I think that's probably the deal you're looking for. You may not get a young player in return. You're probably looking at, because the thing is, you're getting off that money. He still has 3 years left. So the primary goal for the Wizards, if you're going to move on now, which they have to because he's requested a trade, you don't want an unhappy guy, because then you go into the area of having issues in the locker room. So it behooves them to move him at this point. But to me, 2 expiring contracts. Now let's take a look at the pick situation real quick now with the Pistons. Now, they are better than they thought they were going to be this season. So they may be a team that may be willing to give up a first-round pick. But that is the problem. They do not have a first-round pick in this year's draft. They do have a second-round pick. Now, with them not having a first-round pick in this year's draft, due to the Stepien rule, they cannot move 2026. So you're probably looking at 2027 and later. Now, they do have 2 second-round picks in 2027. Worst-case scenario. And then a first-round pick in 2027. So you could be looking at a later pick. And now in 2028, they have 3 second-round picks. So, I mean, if you're in the realm of the Wizards front office, you're saying we'll take second-round picks, you're probably looking at a couple from 2028. But you asked for a first-round pick. But
sorry for clarification. Yeah. What's the rule on the year max you can ask for draft picks? Is there a rule on that?
Well, you can't trade multiple years. Like, for example, if you already traded your 2025, you got to retain your 2026 because of the Stephenson rule. You can't trade consecutive years. So and it kind of keeps teams from just throwing all their picks away, which I think that Ernie Grunfeld was probably the reason they came up with the rule because he gave away first round picks every year.
I'm so used to doing it on 2K that I'm like, yeah, there's no way they do this in real life,
Yeah, man. Shoot, me, man, I'm with you, man. So, looking at Detroit, I think that the pick situation, I think they're hesitant, AB, to move on from a first round pick because while they're better than advertised, and whether you definitely see a lot of progression with the young talent, Kate Cunningham, with man, I'm trying to think
Jalen Duran. Oh,
boom, there you go, man. I mean, Jaden Ivey, man. I mean, they got a nice young squad. So
Jaden Ivey. Oh my God.
I mean, you still got Ron Holland, is a guy who definitely needs to be developed, but another young talent. So they may be looking at utilizing the draft pick. So I'm gonna be out on the Detroit. Now, if you're looking for picks, you're probably not gonna like the Detroit Pistons trade, man. But if you're looking at just from getting under his contract, then picking up two guys who you're probably gonna buy out, because I can imagine Malik Beasley is a guy that's going to be a buyout candidate. He's going to go to a playoff team. So same thing with Tim Hardaway Jr. I think you buy both of those guys out. So the big positive is get off the contract early on. So if you're looking at it from the perspective of getting draft picks, this may not be your favorite one. So, all right, guys, we have 3 more trade partners that I think are very, very realistic. We got 2 more that are realistic, and one's kind of a wild card if we want to send him out west. So we're going to get into that. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by Rocket RX. Today's episode is brought to you by Rocket RX. If you're ready to boost your confidence and take control in the bedroom, Rocket RX has a solution. Imagine feeling more prepared and performing at your best. Rocket RX makes it simple and stress-free. Rocket RX offers FDA-approved treatments for erectile dysfunction at lower cost than most branded alternatives. No more uncomfortable doctor visits or pharmacy trips. Everything is delivered right to your door in discreet, plain packaging. With Rocket RX, you'll get trusted care from a real U.S. clinical team. Complete a quick 100% online consultation, and you can get your free prescription today. Visit rocketrx.com to get started now. It only takes 2 minutes. That easy. Right now, our listeners can get 40% off your first order when you use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's rocketrx.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for 40% off your first order. Terms apply. Rocket RX, better sex made simple. It is that easy, y'all. All right, let's get back into this. So we got 2 more teams I think are realistic, like Detroit, from the realm of getting off the contract. You might want to go to that direction, especially if you're in a situation where he's asking out and he may want to go home with a team that definitely needs another veteran piece. And I think him getting closer to home and being that veteran piece could indeed work. So let's move on to the next one, AB. And the next one on the agenda is the Sacramento Kings. You already know what I'm going to say. All right, so the Sacramento Kings, in order for them to acquire Kyle Kuzma, again, you had to match salary. So I'm looking at Kevin Huerter, who's going to, over the course of 2 seasons, is going to make $16.8 million. So not going to break the bank per year. You're roughly looking at $8.4 million per year. So very affordable contract, especially if you are looking on moving from Corey Kispert next year. You have a shooter in Kevin Huerter, a guy that went to the University of Maryland, former Terrapin. And then you got Trey Lyles, $8 million on an expiring contract this year. So looking at their pick situation, let me go ahead and pull it up real quick, AB, because the Kings is kind of in a similar situation. And there's other factors to kind of look at with the Kings also, right? Mike Brown, gone as kid coach, man. So if De'Aaron Fox wants to be moved, he may very well say he wants to be traded. So that they may be hesitant to move on from a first round pick because they
if Fox is gone, they blow it up. Sorry to cut you off, B. But
yeah. Oh no, you're 100% correct, man. If you move Fox, you're blowing it up. So they're going to want their first round picks, and they're probably going to be looking for getting more first round picks. So, I mean, again, because of the rule, you can't get to 2026 because they've already traded away to 2025. So you're looking at 27. I mean, let's see, they got the picks and going 29 on forward. So, and I think they're going to be hesitant. I don't think they're going to put a first round pick in there. They may, if they feel like Kyle Kuzma is that one scoring punch off the second unit, they may make that move, AB. But I mean, they got a lot of mouths to feed in Sacramento. You got De'Aaron Fox, you got Keegan Murray, who, he's a good young talent who has struggled, but you got Sabonis, you have Malik Monk, you have DeRozan. You're realistically probably bringing in a guy who's going to be your 6th option. So, are they going to be willing to give up a first round pick for a guy who's going to be your 6th option? I don't think so, man. In my opinion, I wouldn't if I'm a GM. So, I mean, again, kind of like the Detroit Pistons, boo. If you're looking at purely from the perspective that you're trying to move on from off his contract and just free up minutes for players like Bilal and some of these young guys, then you may make a move with Sacramento because, like you said, you get a shooter in Kevin Huerter, who you add to Keyshawn George and Corey Kispert in the second unit. We're going to have a lot better 3-point shooting. But then if you look at it, eventually moving on from Corey Kispert, you still got a guy who, going into next year is going to be an inspiring contract. So again, you're kind of moving off of Corey Kispert's contract, and it frees you up to go sign Shane Penny. I'm just saying. So, if you're looking at aspiring contracts or a guy who's not going to really handcuff you long term in Kevin Huerter, you make that move. All right, so let's get into the next man. I think this honestly my favorite one, AB, and this is the San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs, I think, is the perfect one because if you are looking to get a young player in return and get a first-round pick, I think you get the perfect situation with the San Antonio Spurs. So looking at San Antonio, man, in exchange for Kyle Kuzma, you'll be getting Keldon Johnson, who over the course of 3 seasons is going to be making $19 million. And he is very young. I believe he is 23 years old. He fits the timeline. He is a versatile guy who can play the 3. He can play the 4. I believe they played him at the 2. I mean, so when you try to match him on the second unit with a player like Saddiq Bey, when he was coming back later stages of the season, the next season, he adds to the mold of a guy who can defend, he can shoot the 3-point shot. And like I said, he fits the timeline as far as 3 seasons. So hitting in the next year, he's only got 2 years in his contract. So if he is indeed not part of your long-term plans, kind of like Saddiq Bey, you got a young guy who's going to be able to reflip at some point. Looking at the pick situation, and then I'm trying to tell you, this is my favorite part because the Spurs, while I do think they're going to be hesitant to move immediate first-round picks because they are better than advertised this year, but they are still a young team in their own right. They do hold 4 first-round picks in 2025. Come on now. Come on, AB. Rock with your boy now. 4 first-round picks in 2025. So let's get into it. They got their own first-round pick. They have the Atlanta Hawks with no protections. They had the Chicago Bulls, who is protected 1 through 10. And they have the Charlotte Hornets 1 through 14, which Charlotte's definitely going to retain that because they ain't going to get out of the lottery. So I think that's a good move, man, because you're able to get a young player who fits 2 purposes, right? He can be part of the timeline, and you can reflip him because he's a young player who's shown that he can play at a high level in San Antonio. And I think they're definitely going to be willing to move on from one of those picks because Harrison Barnes, is he still the same guy he was in Sacramento? I don't think so. Kyle Kuzma is going to be able to be that veteran guy for Wembanyama and that squad over there. A lot of nice pieces over there. And only thing they're giving up really is Keldon Johnson. And like I said, he fits the mold. If you want to keep him. If you don't, you can reflip him because he's definitely going to have value. So that is my favorite trade, AB. I mean, what do you think, man?
I agree with you here just because logically, again, the Spurs with those 4 first-round picks, you just don't be so greedy, man. I mean, how about the brothers here in D.C., Will Dawkins and company? But, I agree. I feel like also with Johnson, you mentioned it fits the time, and that's what we need. And San Antonio, I mean, you want to win now. Wemby, I know he's young, but, I mean, you want to give him the help because you don't want a whole situation where, I mean, I don't want to compare it to, but LeBron, when he's young, when he was at his, so young and dominating Cleveland, the front office didn't give him nothing. Any help. So if you're the Spurs, you want to help out, you want to win now because you had a winning history and you can't keep continuing to be that excuse of being a young team. We can't win right now. So in all honesty, I think the Spurs make sense and I think they should pull the trigger on it.
I compared the Wembanyama situation with Giannis Antetokounmpo. They had to make that one move to keep him in Milwaukee. Look, Wembanyama, when you're an iconic star player like he is, who they call a generational talent, with his size and his ability, you can argue that is 100% on point. It behooves you to make it a winning team a lot sooner than later. I mean, they made some veteran pieces, or bringing some veteran pieces in, and Chris Paul. They got a young guy, a lot of nice young pieces. And like I said, with this trade, they're not giving up a lot. Keldon Johnson's a guy his name has been floated around in trade talks that last couple of years, man. So, Keldon Johnson, I would love him in DC. I think he's a nice versatile guy who fits the timeline. And again, if you don't see him or Saddiq as long-term pieces at some point, then you can flip them because both guys have shown they can play at a high level in the NBA. Like I said, they got 4 first-round picks. So I think that they would be definitely willing to give up one of those first-round picks. So if you're looking at from getting trade assets in return, and young players, you check both boxes. All right, so let's get into the last one. This is the wild card. And as you know, the Lakers very active, man, bringing Dorian Finney-Smith, but they said they are still in the market to bring in another piece to help them with their playoff push. Kyle Kuzma's already been a Laker, and his name's been floated as being a favorite. Look, if you look on social media, the Wizards fans are mad at him, and the Lakers fans saying, "Come on, we're out west, man." So it fits. So let's take a look at their situation real quick. What would it take? And I think it's a wild card. I mean, you can make it happen, AB, but I don't think it's realistic because they would be giving up a lot of depth for one guy, man. So
My bad, B, cutting off
yeah,
again. I always say, B, when it comes to NBA trade packages, the Lakers are always that team, whether it's 2 or 3 teams you're talking about. They're always that team. No matter who the player is, somehow they find a way to get in that discussion.
look, you ain't lying, man. I mean, if they're gonna find any avenue to try to get that guy, so I'm with you on that. But obviously, looking at the second apron, looking at the CBA, making the salaries match is the biggest thing now in the NBA. With him making 23.5 million, you're looking at 3 players. So you could probably throw, kind of a younger player in there, maybe a Johnny Davis, maybe a Patrick Baldwin Jr. You can kind of add Patrick Baldwin Jr., Johnny Davis to most of these moves. But in this situation, you'll be taking on Gabe Vincent, who's making $11 million over the course of the next 2 seasons. Jared Vanderbilt, who is still young, but he's going to be making, his contract's crazy. I mean, it's 10.7 million over the course of 4 years. And then you look at 1 year with Christian Wood. So, that would be the best, most realistic way that they can make the money work. And even then, I mean, I don't know if they're willing to give up Jared Vanderbilt because, they're giving up a good bench piece and a guy who can definitely, start when called upon. I mean, I think they definitely are willing to give up Jalen Hood-Schifino or Gabe Vincent. But I didn't want to ask for 2 guards because I was going to throw Hood-Schifino in there. But, at that point, you would have to kind of toss Jared Butler in there because you would have an overabundance of point guards. And then, looking at their pick situation, they had 2 second-round picks in 2025. So, like I said, if you're looking at draft compensation, you may be looking at 2 second-round picks. I know that's not the best return for Kyle Kuzma and not what you expect, especially the last couple of years, man. But that's one avenue because you're looking at they got a first-round pick in 2026. They're not going to give that up. 2027, that first-round pick's gone. 2028, again, because of the rule. I mean, so they're handicapped to 2030 and 31. And you can argue, yes, the Wizards probably they could probably acquire the 2030, 31 pick. But then at what point do you rebuild it to your Lakers? Ron ain't going to be around in 2030, man. So they may be hesitant. But looking at it from the perspective of the Wizards, in 2030 or 31, you're looking at one of those first-round picks going to be towards a star player to help this young core when we want to make that playoff push. So real quick before we move on, man, what do you think about that move?
I think, and again, like the whole when the Lakers want to rebuild, that's a good question. But I don't know, man. They've seen Kyle Kuzma here in DC. Do you really think, or in LA, and then trade him to DC, bring him back? Does that? I don't know. Do they think that's gonna make them a championship contender in the West? I mean, it's stacked, and we've seen it this year. So I don't know if I'm Rob Pelinka. I'm still harping on the fact that JV might be a candidate more than Kuz to go to the Lakers. But I don't see why not. The Lakers and Rob Pelinka and company can entertain the idea.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm gonna say no. I think that JV fits better than Kuz does because I think he fits better, sliding Anthony Davis to the 4. And I think that you could sneak a first-round pick, but realistically for Jonas Valanciunas, you're probably looking at those 2025 second-round picks. I think that's the most realistic trade. I think that you definitely make that move if you want to send JV to Lakers. I think that's the best case scenario. So we're going to definitely talk about that a lot more getting close to the deadline, man. But, you guys get in the comment section and let us know which ones do you like, which ones do you not like, and why. So we're going to get in the comments. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me all the time. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for. And Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place. Whether subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year, Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved over a total of $500 million and canceled subscriptions. Lord have mercy. Saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. For me, it's a long time to really figure out how to utilize my money. But, in this day and age, utilize apps like this. It definitely helps you become more money responsible, especially in an age where the economy is not too hot. Maybe you're spending, trying to make your dollar stretch as much as possible. I definitely recommend you guys utilize the service. I do, so I would definitely recommend you guys do the same. So cancel unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked on. rocketmoney.com/rocket money. All right, AB, let's get into the comments, man. Like I said, it's New Year's Eve, so let me say this real quick. I definitely appreciate and value every one of you guys for taking time out of your day and night to watch my content. Every live game, the draft, free agency, trades, and the good, the bad, and ugly. This is my third season covering the team. Second as a credentialed member of the media, man, and it's been a blessing and a privilege. So, like I said, the last episode of 2024, like I said, I got my guy AB here, man. Looking forward to the future AB. So, looking forward to many years covering the Washington Wizards with you guys. But like I said, definitely appreciate everybody taking time out of the year this year, just to take 25 to 30 minutes, or sometimes 45, to talk about your Washington Wiz kids, man. So let's get into this, man. And as always, Locked on Law kicks it all off, and he says, "Does he need help packing his?" You already know the word, but his stuff. All right, now we know. Let's see. Joshua Clark, how you doing tonight? Says, "Bye, Kuzma. The team looks bad playing with him. He's blocking talent. I regret being happy reciting this man. Once Puma dropped him, he lost all his mojo."
Mojo, that's a word right there.
I mean, y'all on the road tonight, man. Yeah. I think this time, like I said, JP is ready to take the number one role, man, at least for the next 2 to 3. And he's proven that he's willing to put the work in and be that guy. So I say, let's get him the opportunity. Like I said, if this was a playoff team, I wouldn't mind holding on to Kuz. I wouldn't mind holding on to JV, to be honest with you, if we were a playoff team, man. But here's the thing: we are in a rebuild. We've got to prioritize young talent, man. And Bilal's ready. He's ready to be that number 2 guy. So let's make it happen. So I'm with you on that. Bucket, get it? How you doing tonight, man? It says Sacktown. Also says Herder and Monk and the 27th or 28th first. Man, with them being a playoff team, I think that if they blow it up, you're going to probably get some value from Monk. You're probably trading most of the team, but I think that I believe De'Aaron Fox dropped a 30 piece the other night, so maybe maybe they're kind of getting better going forward. I still think it was kind of disrespectful how they did Mike Brown, but maybe they're better because they have a lot of talent in Sacktown, man. So I think they're hesitant with Malik Monk. I don't think they put him in any deal. Herder, I can see. And I agree with you. The next one, it says Monk would be nice and easy. Absolutely. But, Monk fits better on a competing team. He would not want to be on this team, man, with us being the record we are. We are 5-25. So you're probably looking at Herder and Lyles. But look, if we're a playoff team, I would love Malik Monk, man. Let's see. But Getter also says we might have to package Kuz and Val or Kuz and Brogdon for more value. That's a good point, too. That is a really good point. And like I said, once we, over the course of the next couple of weeks, man, really the next 30 plus days, man, we're going to be looking at a lot of trades going towards the deadline because I don't think that he's going to be moved on the deadline. I think that him and Valanciunas are going to be moved well before the deadline because you're starting to see moves already be made. And Brooklyn is a team that's very similar to the Wizards. They're looking to move on for a lot of talent. They already moved Schroeder. They already moved, Denny Smith. So we are definitely in the same boat as being that team that is looking to be a top 3 pick. Uptown Dre, my guy, says, "What's up, my brother? How you doing, man?" Let's see. GLN says, "Yeah, trade Kuz. There are some young players who want to play. The management wanted to trade him last year. He refused. Now he made a team miss opportunity to get a great player." I think it's funny he wants to go to Dallas. I don't know, AB. I think I think it's funny, man. Like, I mean, you had an opportunity, man. And Dallas came out and said, "Look, that ain't happening." I mean, they're happy with what they have. So, you're gonna have to look for another team, man. Armand, here's my guy, man. He says, "Fella shows up 20 pounds overweight, plays like complete booty cheeks, and now wants to request a trade." AB, I'm gonna let you have it, man.
Yeah, man. Kuz, I think Locked on Law mentioned, does he need help packing? I mean, with all the clothes that he shows off like every other day, he might need help packing his clothes. But yeah, man. I mean, again, Kuz, like, you loved him when the trade happened because you thought he could be like, obviously not a number 1, but a good number 2 here in DC with Brad. But at the end of the day, like, it just made it worse for himself, whether it was off the court or on the court, taking some questionable shots. So again, I don't know about the overweight part because the man's like 6'10" and very slim, but at the end of the day, like, I can see the other part where it comes to playing like cheeks, but it is what it is at this point. And Kuz, like, day by day, it's just getting uglier, like an uglier divorce, man.
Yeah, I mean, 20 pounds, I don't think it's 20, but you could tell that he did add, I believe, like 5 to 7 pounds of muscle. So that had a lot to do with his lack of explosiveness. And because I know if you saw him when he drove the lane, man, he was putting his shoulder into people. He was being a lot more physical. So his condition did take a hit. Let's be real. I think, and muscle does that, man. From a guy who used to live a lot of weights, man. Muscle is a lot heavier than fat, man. So like I said, adding muscle is going to definitely hit you with explosives. And that's why when you look at players like Alex Sarr, you really don't want him to get really big, man. And Dwight Howard is an example. Like Dwight Howard's the only guy at the center position that I really remember where he was like huge and stacked and still had that explosiveness. But once you add, go past 10 pounds of muscle, man, you're gonna really lose a lot of stamina, man. So let's see. Link, my guy, how you doing tonight? Says first 2 Kuz years were good, but after Brad was on, it wasn't good. And man, it came down to decision making and shot selection, in my opinion. Oh, a perfect point. I mean, after you hit the nail on the head. I mean, because Brad was able to be the focal point, and then you can argue with him and KP, they were able to be that that big 1-2 punch. When Kuz was the third option, it wasn't bad. He was able to kind of, find his rhythm and really bring the game to him. And he's not a number one, and there's nothing against that. Like I said, you got to be realistic. Most teams, he's probably gonna be a third or fourth option where he goes to. You know what I mean? And looking at a team like Sacramento, you could roughly argue he's gonna be 6th option behind. I mean, they got a lot of mountains fees, so I think they're gonna be hesitant in that move because unless he's willing to come off the bench, and he's not gonna start over Keegan Murray. Even though Keegan Murray is struggling, they may want a veteran guy on the starting five, and maybe kind of give him an opportunity to lead the second unit. I could see that, but I mean, even with Kuz, Sabonis, we'll see DeRozan, Monk, De'Aaron Fox, that's not a bad squad, man. If you think about it, and you bring in Keegan Murray off the bench, that's not a bad squad. So, Nomadic Brian, how you doing tonight? It says, what are we getting? Like waiting on that prime package? Ooh. Yeah, man. I mean, I think that the best case scenario to get a first round pick is San Antonio because they got 4 of them in this upcoming draft. And if you look at this upcoming draft, man, it's loaded with talent. So if you saw this previous draft, man, we were able to get 3 high impact players. Why not grab another couple? Why not? Like I said, Will Dawkins is definitely looking to make the best move he can. And right now, and here's the thing, man. Like I said, big supporter of Will Dawkins and Michael Winger. And yes, you look at this Kyle Kuzma situation, it's like, man, you did miss an opportunity to get him at the zenith of his value. But like I said, and you can argue that, I'm going to ask you that, AB. Do you feel like that Will Dawkins will be kind of under somewhat pressure now to try to find the best package? And do you think he'll be disappointed?
I think definitely, unfortunately, because at one point it was too, like, the disappointment will be there and people will hold it against him, but we can't have this situation neglect the fact that, the draft that he just had, the impact, the development and everything with Bilal Coulibaly, getting rid of Brad's contract, like the stuff that he had to go through, like obviously, the Kuz situation, it could have been handled better. But at the end of the day, if you look at the guys that came before him, I don't want to say those names because it just a bad taste in my mouth. Like, he's definitely doing better than those guys, which is not much to ask for, but it's still improvement at the end of the day, and that's what we want to see here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. Like I said, Kuz, I mean, like I said, it's tough to say like legacy because he wasn't that premier guy, but then he did his job. I mean, he had his flaws, but most players do. I mean, but the thing is, it's just we are realistic in what we're trying to do here. It's a rebuild. Doesn't fit the timeline, and right now you have a guy in Bilal Coulibaly who arguably deserves to take that next step because he's put the work in, man. I mean, he's really shown that he's ready to break out in year 2. So I think it's more so that he's Bilal's deserving of it. So, like I said, it is what it is. All right. So, all right, everybody, we're about at the 33-minute mark. Like you guys know, I gotta try to keep it a little shorter. So we're gonna try to rapid fire through some comments, and we'll try to answer probably 2 to 3 more. Big E says Kuz was solid. Good thing we have a new front office. Tommy Shepard would have resigned him for $40 million. Yep. Rogue Blue, it says Kuz for Jalen Duran. What do you say? Detroit's gonna say no to that. And I mean, I would love Jalen Duran, man. And you put Sarr to 4. Ooh-wee, but I think they're gonna be hesitant. Let's see. Jermaine Reese, how you doing? This is Kuzma's a good player. Forget the clothes. He's rich. Put him on a contender. He will ball out. Absolutely. You put him on a contender, he's going to eat, man, because he's going to be checked. The amount of, offensive responsibility is going to be smaller. But he could definitely do his thing on the contender. Have no doubt in my mind. Guru Strong, how you doing? Says another bonehead move by these GMs not trading him last season to Sacramento or Dallas. Like I said, I think that we do have a good front, but I can't argue with that. You shouldn't. They should have moved him at his value. So I can't argue with that, man. Alonzo says goodbye, Slim. Indeed. All right. So a couple more. Big J 52. How you doing tonight? Says sup. No Laker trades. They have nothing we want, and all their players are outside our timeline. I agree 100%. I'm not rocking with the with the Lakers move, man. Uptown Dre kind of echoes that. Hell no with the Lakers. That's whack. The Lakers have nothing we should purchase. I agree 100%. So we're gonna do a couple more. Big E says, Brandon, maybe Sarr put on some muscle and be similar to David Robinson. I think he'd be well in that situation. I can see where you're going with that, but David Robinson didn't have a 3-point shot, so he was more of a traditional big. But I kind of like, I know where you're going with the comparison. I like it. All right, so let's see a couple more. Naeem, how you doing? Says, yo, Abdullah on Locked On Wizards, babe. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, he is definitely on Locked On Wizards, man. Definitely appreciate the shout outs from my guy Naeem, man. How you doing tonight? All right, let's see. And this is gonna be the last one. And it's from Tupac Boxing. How you doing? It says, love all you guys, man. Just wanted to chime in. Hey, man, like I said, that's gonna be the last comment. But let me say this. All love, man. Got a lot of love for you guys, man. Definitely appreciate you rocking with me from the good and the bad through the high times and low times with Wizards, man. So definitely appreciate everybody. Looking forward to many years of doing this with you guys, man, and covering this team water trash all the way to the championship contenders, man. So, like I said, we got a long road, but look, we got each other. So let's get it, man. So real quick, everybody, it's New Year's. So please celebrate responsibly. If you decide to drink or smoke, do so at home. If you want to go out, please do so responsibly. Okay, call Uber, call drive. Do not try to drive. Okay, do not live one night, destroy the rest of your life, and that's real talk. All right, so be responsible tonight, have fun, and definitely look forward to a blessed 2025, guys. So like I said, we're looking towards the future here in Washington with the Wizards and our Commanders because they're 11 win team. So I'm just saying, if you're an Eagles fan, I'm just saying. So even though we definitely had to go through the Eagles to win that championship, them in Detroit, AB, but that's a whole nother subject for another day. So, all right, everybody, like I said, definitely have a blessed New Year's, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow at 7, they have a game tomorrow night. We're not going to do any keys to victory, but real quick, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, they play the Chicago Bulls. So we'll try to get a 6th win if we can. So again, you guys stay blessed. Much love. See you guys tomorrow. I'll see you guys next year. So, all right, everybody, stay blessed and hail to the Wizards and peace.